You ever have one of those moments where you finish a build, maybe it's a coffee table you've spent 6 weeks agonizing over, and you're standing there with a rag in your hand, looking at the bare wood, feeling like if you pick the wrong jug off the shelf, you're basically committing arson on your own hard work?
That's a bit dramatic, even for you. Are we talking about finishing wood or a Shakespearean tragedy?
It's both, Alex. It's the final act. I remember this white oak sideboard I built years ago. Beautiful, tight grain. I decided to slop on some oil-based poly in a humid garage because I was in a rush to get it into the house. It stayed tacky for 3 days. By day 4, every gnat in the county had decided it was a mass casualty landing strip. I didn't have a sideboard. I had a bug cemetery with a semi-gloss sheen. I had to sand the whole thing back to zero.
See, that's why the rest of us just stare at the rows of cans at the hardware store until we get dizzy and buy whatever has the prettiest picture on the label. But today, we're actually going to demystify this. We're diving into the Great Finish Face-Off: oils, polyurethane, and lacquer.
It's the most common question I get. Tiger, what do I put on this? And the answer is always another question. What are you going to do to it? If it's a bookshelf that'll hold a few paperbacks, you treat it differently than a dining table where your kids are going to be doing science experiments with grape juice.
So let's start with the heavy hitter: polyurethane. People love it, people hate it. Give me the real talk. What is it actually doing to the wood?
Think of polyurethane like a suit of plastic armor. It's a polymer-based resin. When you brush it on, it doesn't really become part of the wood. It sits on top like a transparent shield. You've got two main camps here: oil-based and water-based.
And I'm guessing the suit of armor you mentioned is the oil-based stuff?
Precisely. Oil-based poly is the old-school tank. It's tough, it handles heat and moisture like a pro, and it gives the wood that amber glow. It's like putting a sepia filter on a photo. But man, the smell will knock your socks off. If you don't have a window open, you'll be seeing colors that aren't there within 20 minutes.
Maybe that explains some of your design choices lately. But what about the water-based version? Everyone says it's easier, but is it actually better?
It's easier in the way a microwave is easier than a charcoal grill. It dries fast. We're talking recoat in 3 hours, and it stays crystal clear. If you want your maple to stay looking like white paper, you go water-based. But here's the rub. It's thin. You put on 2 coats of oil poly, and you're done. You want the same protection with water-based? You're looking at 4, 5, maybe 6 coats. It's like painting with skim milk.
Okay, so poly is the armor. Let's shift to the gentleman's finish. Lacquer. Whenever I see high-end furniture, people always whisper it's lacquer like it's a secret password. What's the magic?
Lacquer is the speed demon. It's what the pros use because it dries almost the instant it hits the wood. But it's a different beast chemically. Polyurethane is reactive. It dries and stays that way. Lacquer is evaporative. It uses a solvent that flashes off. The cool thing is, when you put a second coat of lacquer over the first, the solvent actually melts the first layer slightly, so they fuse into one single thick layer.
Wait, so it's not like layers of an onion? It just becomes one solid block of finish?
Exactly. No witness lines when you sand it. It's incredibly smooth, and this is the big one, it's thin. It doesn't like water. You leave a cold glass of sweet tea on a lacquer finish without a coaster, you're going to get a white ring that looks like a ghost decided to haunt your furniture.
So, lacquer is for the look, don't touch pieces. The fancy cabinets in the parlor, not the kitchen island where I'm chopping onions.
You nailed it. It's for high gloss, high class, but low impact. And unless you have a high-end spray setup and a mask that makes you look like a deep sea diver, lacquer is a nightmare to brush. It dries so fast you'll leave brush marks that look like a plowed field.
That brings us to my favorite category, mostly because it seems the most foolproof. Oils. Linseed, tongue, Danish, they all sound like something you'd find in a high-end apothecary.
They do have a certain romance to them, don't they? Oils are the polar opposite of poly. Where poly is a shield on top, oil is a handshake. It soaks into the fibers, hardens inside the wood, and lets you actually feel the texture of the grain.
I've noticed when I touch a piece you've finished with oil, it doesn't feel like plastic. It feels like wood. But am I sacrificing my table's life for that tactile feel?
You're making a trade. You give up total waterproof protection for beauty and ease of repair. If you scratch a polyurethane table, you're basically looking at a full sand down to fix it correctly. If you scratch an oil table, you just rub a little more oil on the scratch and it vanishes like it never happened. It's very forgiving. It's the finish for people who don't mind a little maintenance every few years.
Okay, pop quiz for the master. Most common mistake you see beginners make with these three?
Thinking they can skip the prep. People think finish hides mistakes. It's the opposite. Finish is a magnifying glass. If you left a swirl mark from your sander or a little glob of glue you didn't see, the finish will highlight it like a neon sign. I spent 4 hours once finishing a cherry jewelry box, only to realize I'd left a fingerprint in the wood glue on the corner. The oil hit that glue, and it stayed bright white while the rest of the wood turned deep red. It looked like the box had a Band-Aid on it.
A very expensive permanent Band-Aid.
I ended up giving that box to my aunt. She says it adds character. I say it adds a reminder of my own arrogance.
Let's get practical for the listeners. If I'm building a desktop for my home office, laptops, coffee mugs, maybe the occasional dropped pen, what am I reaching for?
For a desk, I'm going polyurethane every time, but I'm going to let you in on the pro secret that isn't really a secret. Wipe on poly. Take your regular oil-based poly, thin it down 50-50 with mineral spirits, and just wipe it on with a rag.
Doesn't that make it weaker?
It makes the individual coats thinner, yeah, but it eliminates the bubbles and brush marks. You do 3 or 4 wipes, and you get a finish so smooth, you'd swear it was done in a factory. It gives you the protection of the plastic armor without that dipped in thick syrup look.
And what about the kitchen? We're talking cutting boards, rolling pins, the stuff that actually touches food. I assume we're not using the suit of armor there.
Definitely not. You don't want to be seasoning your steak with cured plastic flakes. For anything food related, you stay in the oil lane. Pure tung oil or food-grade mineral oil. It won't last forever, but it won't hurt your stomach either. Just stay away from boiled linseed oil for food. The boiled part usually involves chemical dryers you don't want in your salad.
That seems like a pretty definitive breakdown. Poly for the heavy lifting, lacquer for the showstoppers, and oils for the soul of the wood.
That's a poetic way to put it. At the end of the day, a finish shouldn't be a chore. It's the victory lap. You just have to make sure you aren't running that lap in high heels on a muddy track.
So, the takeaway for today?
Match the finish to the lifestyle of the object. Don't put a fragile finish on a hardworking tool, and don't bury a delicate heirloom under a mountain of plastic. Respect the wood's future as much as you respected the build.
And maybe don't finish your projects in a gnat-infested garage.
Yeah, especially that. Unless you're going for that embedded insect aesthetic, it's very niche.
Thanks for the deep dive, Tiger. Next time, I want to talk about why you have 17 different hammers and only use 2 of them.
Hey, each one has a very specific personality. But that's a story for another day. Get out there and make something, folks. And for heaven's sake, read the back of the can.